so today I have swatches of the Essie Wild Nudes collection. There are 8 polishes here all together. I got these off of sparklecanada.com. I got 6 of them off of Sparkle Canada. There were 2 that weren't there when I picked these up. That was Exposed and Mooning. I actually got these 2 off of Amazon. I had seen the whole collection on Amazon, but I really didn't want to order it from there because I knew that they don't pack their polishes. If you buy more than one, like, your chances of them coming broken are pretty high because they just throw them in a box with like one of those air pillows, which doesn't do anything. So I was hesitant. I waited until they showed up at Sparkle Canada, but I did end up having to get these 2 off of Amazon, and they did show up with no padding, just an air pillow, but miraculously they were not broken. So 8 polishes here all together, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Skinny Dip, and this is a sheer, slightly pink neutral. So here's one coat. And this one is one of those sheer neutral shades, so it is going to take a couple coats, and even then it probably won't build up to completely opaque. The formula is a little bit runny. You do want to be careful not to do too thick of a coat, or it is going to pool onto the sides of the nail. It doesn't cover completely even, but it's not terribly streaky either, but you can see how it's a little bit thicker on the sides of my nail and thinner at the top because the formula has run down to the sides a little bit. So here is 2 coats. So 2 coats is starting to build up the opacity a little bit, but it is always going to be a sheer polish. I'll do a third just to show what it looks like in 3. I did notice that the little bit of unevenness that I had on that first coat really settled down as it dried. So by the time it was dry, it was pretty consistent across the entire nail. So here's the 3rd coat. So it is still sheer on the 3rd coat. Again, that's how this polish is meant to look, but I think you're going to get the same kind of nice sheer clean look regardless of 1, 2, or 3 coats. It just depends on how much color you actually want. So that is 3 coats of Skinny Dip. So the next polish is called Without a Stitch. It's not quite gray, it's not quite fully taupe either. So here is 1 coat. And this one covers pretty well on that first coat. It is pretty decently opaque. It is a little bit streaky still. It's one of those ones where if you work with it too much, you will create way more streaks than you'd have otherwise. And this is something I'm very guilty of, is way overworking polish. So you want to be really careful not to be constantly adding more strokes to it because you will create streaks. And the formula is definitely on the thin side for this one as well. It's a little bit difficult to work with because it does want to move around on you a bit more. So here is the 2nd coat. And this one does cover completely in 2. It did dry a little bit more sheer than it applied, but not so much that you need a 3rd coat. And this also dries very shiny. So that is 2 coats of Without a Stitch. The next polish is called Wild Nude, and this is kind of a like light medium sand color. So here is 1 coat. And this one is just a touch sheer on that first coat, but actually not that streaky. I can see my nail line, but there aren't a ton of streaks through it, which is kind of surprising. Good formula on this one. It might still be a touch thin, but nothing like the last one. So here is 2 coats, and this one does cover completely in 2. And like the last one, it dried a little bit more sheer than it applied, but not so much that you would need a 3rd coat. So that is 2 coats of Wild Nude. And the next polish is called Bear With Me, and this is going to be light medium, dustier pink. It looks a little bit more nude on camera and a little bit more pink in person, but it's probably right between the 2. So here's 1 coat. And this one is a little bit sheer and streaky on that first coat. Good formula on this one as well. Again, a little bit on the thin side, but nothing terrible. So here's 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. I do think if you are extremely heavy-handed, there is a small chance you might need 3 to cover up some dark spots, but I don't think that's super likely. It is just going to depend on your application or the thickness of your coats. So that is 2 coats of Bear With Me. So the next polish is called Clothing Optional, and I actually looked this one up on the Essie website because I really had no idea how to describe this. To me, it's like almost a dusty, rosy pink. color, but they call it a natural sienna brown. And I always forget that I can just look these descriptions up instead of sounding like an idiot. So that is clothing optional. So here is one coat. And this is a little bit sheer on the first coat, but not terrible. Good formula on this one, and I think this is one that after it's been used a couple times and it gets a little bit thicker just from use, it will probably be a one coater or very close to a one coater. So here's two coats. And this one does cover completely in two. I do feel like it dries down to almost like a little bit of a richer brown, and it's a little more on the dusty side when it's wet. This also dries very shiny. So that is two coats of clothing optional. The next polish is called Mooning, and this is a gray-blue color. So here is one coat. So this one is a bit streaky on that first coat. The formula on this one is definitely a bit on the thinner side. It does take very careful application to control it. It's not impossible, but it is more difficult. So here is two coats. And this one does cover completely in two, covers up those few streaks. I definitely feel like this one dries a little bit darker than it applies. So that is two coats of Mooning. And the next polish is Exposed, and this is kind of a dustier camo green. So here is one coat. And this one is just slightly streaky on that first coat. I think this is another one that after it's been used a couple of times and it just thickens up naturally, it will definitely be a one coater because it is very close right now, and good formula on this one as well. So here is two coats. This one covers completely in two. It was really close to covering completely in one. My nail painting has been really bad lately. I've done a lot of cuticle flooding for the last two collections. So that is two coats of Exposed. And the last polish is called Winning Streak, and this is a darker dusty purple. So here is one coat. So this is another one that is really close to being a one coater, but it's not quite there. It definitely still has a few streaks. I do think this is another one though that once it's been used a few times and it thickens up naturally, it will be more of a one coater. And great formula on this one as well. So here's two coats. So this one does cover completely in two and also dries pretty shiny as well. So that is two coats of Winning Streak. So I think Exposed is actually going to be my favorite. I really like this kind of muddy, murky, almost camo green color. It's not a nude, but it's certainly a neutral, and it's just nice to see in one of these collections. It's not a color you see in like a nude or neutral collection, very often, so I like this. So that is the Essie Wild Nudes collection. I got those at Sparkle Canada and Amazon, but that was a couple weeks ago, so you should be able to find them other places now as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.